Everyone is doing well. So just allow me to start my slides. All right. So, so today we will be talking about a very common topic. I'm saying it is common because stress is something that we all are familiar with. Uh, it's a very regular kind of a thing that happens in our life. So we need to learn how to respond towards managing stress. And I'll be sharing some very interesting yet very practical tips with you on how to do that. I hope that you guys have the access to chat box, because what I want you guys to do is do this word association exercise. What comes to your mind when you hear the word stress? Uh, I would want you guys to write down one word that comes to your mind. Use the chat box and write down the word. What comes to your mind when you hear this word stress? I'm really interested in knowing this thing, because then I would be tailoring my discussion accordingly as the session goes on. So the responses are coming. All right, meeting deadlines. Okay. So burnout. Yeah, very rightly so. Good. So I'm getting direct messages. So I'll just spend around 10-20 seconds on reading through the responses, because the others are not able to see it. But keep them coming, keep them coming. Deadline, burnout. Yeah, okay. Any other thing, anyone else who would want to share? What comes to your mind when you hear anxiety and fear? All right, good. That's nice of you to share. Keep on. Fear, all right. Got it. Okay, anything else? You can write it. All right, we have just one more response. Uh, Stress, okay, such a wonderful and detailed response, physiological and psychological response. I got it. We all are very much familiar and aware regarding what stress is, and we have our own different perceptions when it comes to understanding stress. Do understand that stress is something very normal, but I'll get to that. I'll first start with a very common story. You may have heard about the story of a boiling frog. If not, I'll quickly go through it. You know, if you take a frog and if you have a pan with boiling water in it, and if you put that frog in that pan, it will immediately jump out because it cannot take the hot temperature. But if you have a pan of cold water with a stove on, and then you put the frog in it, and then you start gradually increasing the heat, the frog is not going to jump out. It will eventually burn or dissolve or melt, or whatever term you can use. It will just boil in that water. Now, what does that story got to do with stress? You know, it's a kind of an expression that when we are dealing with certain difficult situations in our life, we do try to respond them in a way that we feel that I'm able to deal with it. I will be able to cope up with it. And the temperature keeps on rising, rising, rising until we end up burning ourselves out, whether it is work, social relationships, uh, our health, finances, whatever the stress is. So do understand that we need to manage these pressures. The story of a boiling frog, it represents that we don't know that our environment is creating pressure on us, but we need to learn how to cope up with that before we burn ourselves out. So let us define what stress is. We all are familiar with it, but let us go through the textbook definition just to get the things going. Physiological and psychological response to events or situations that threatens an individual's well-being. You know, the concept of well-being, it was there for a very long time, but after COVID-19, the whole pandemic era, the focus on individuals' well-being has come into the light once again. I'm sure that all of you need to have this priority that your well-being matters. Keep this thing in mind that whatever you are going through in life, your well-being should be your priority. I mean, psychologically, physically, socially, work related, all the different aspects of it. But this should be your top priority. So today we are going to talk about some strategies that how can we respond to stressful situations. And I would love to hear your comments and opinions in the chat box. Keep them coming. We will be having a question answer session at the end, but even if during this session you have anything to share, any question to ask, feel free to use the chat box. Okay. And the other thing is that do understand that stress is pretty normal. But if you do not deal with it, if it becomes chronic, it can lead to many issues, many problems, both psychological and physical. So our first understanding is that we cannot run away from stress. Stress is going to be there because we are humans and we try things. So stress is going to be there. But the important thing is we need to learn how to manage it. So what are the signs and symptoms of stress? Before I move on to the remedy part or the solution part, I would want you guys to think about yourself. Ask yourself these questions that have you been feeling these symptoms or signs? Because that is going to tell you that how stressed you are. Uh, I don't want to end up like that frog in a boiling water because I need to be aware that what triggers are there in my environment which are boiling the temperature. So I would want to keep a check on my signs and symptoms. So what stress does to you? Fine, you feel tired. Okay, keep on sharing. I really enjoy and like it when you share your opinions in the chat box. That is really helpful. It helps me tailor the session. So if you have been frequently feeling irritable and angry, I mean, you need to ask yourself that if you like feel really annoyed, angry at things happening around you, you feel overburdened, anxious, nervous, afraid, just like that you have mentioned earlier regarding your understanding and interpretation of stress. If you are feeling these emotions frequently, this means you are under a lot of stress. If you lose interest in the activities happening around you, you usually feel worried, tense, or the element of loneliness is there. I'm not the one to judge. I'm just putting this thing in front of you that if you are feeling these things in your life, this means that the stress is building up and you need to deal with it. That is why we are talking about it right now. I'll quickly have a look at the chat box. All right, confusion is there, make one feel worried. It is an uncomfortable feeling. Very good, wonderful. Such wonderful things coming. I hope that if the admin can allow you to use the common chat box so that everybody can read your opinions, but it's totally up to the university policy. I'm really enjoying your messages that are coming to me. Wonderful. So what are the physical signs and symptoms? I mean, it affects your brain, your heart, your gut, your immune, your everything, your reproductive system. Stress, it burns you up. It really messes you up. So what are the symptoms that you need to keep a check on? I hope that none of you would be having difficulty breathing or having panic attacks, but if they are there, this means you're under a situation. You are thinking a lot, you're maybe overthinking, and you are having this element of stress. Your eyesight may be affected. You may need to work on your sleep hours and you feel tired. Usually your body starts aching. For me, I mean, it's my shoulders. I'm not sure about you, but for me, it's my neck muscles and my shoulders. And this part of me, it starts aching. I feel fatigued. I feel tired whenever I am in a stressful situation. Oh, it affects your gut as well. Indigestion, heartburn, constipation, diarrhea. Your stomach starts responding in all possible ways that it can when it is under stress. I think I think gut is the first thing that is affected by a stressful situation. I mean, you immediately feel that there is something inside, something not right inside you when you are. And if you're feeling sick, dizzy, or fainting, or a sudden weight gain or a weight loss, the reason why I am highlighting these things is that after today, you will need to keep a check on all the symptoms that you are facing frequently. If you are going through these symptoms, they should not be taken lightly. Do understand that stress is like a burden that is damaging your physical and psychological well-being. And as I've already mentioned, that your psychological, social, physical well-being should be your top priority. I hope that we don't look like this. Usually, when I was using this image, I thought to myself that, do I do this regularly? So what does stress do to us in terms of our behaving? If we evaluate or check our behavior, how is it reflected that we are very stressed out? We make it hard to make decisions and unable to concentrate. This is a very good sign. If you are usually indecisive, if all the options, whenever you are going to make a decision, if all the options they seem very good to you and you are like usually confused, or you're not able to focus, you're not able to like gain a certain perspective, that is also related to feeling stressed out. Loss of memory is there. You have a constant feeling of worry or something bad is going to happen. A kind of nervousness, anxiety, fear is always there. That is what stress does to you. Quickly snap at people. I mean, you don't know how to react and respond in certain situations, and you immediately snap. Some anger management issues. Your diet is affected. I eat too much. I mean, I usually eat too much, and in stress, I eat a bit too much added to the regular eating. You some people they may have go to some harmful kind of hobbies like using recreational drugs, drinking a lot, smoking. You usually start the crying. Some people they end up shopping too much. This online shopping has got a lot to do with relieving your burden. I've seen so many people that whenever they are stressed out, they start doing online shopping and they start buying things. I don't know whether it makes them happy or not. You can share your opinion, but this is what they do. You and in certain behaviors, you would want to have a different opinion of exercise. Either you'll do it too much or not at all. But the important thing is that one feels that they are not like very comfortable in normal situations. They would want to stay away from normal situations, from normal people. They start withdrawing from people. These are the symptoms that I just shared. So in future, keep an eye on all these things if you are behaving. And I've shared so many things because like we all are different people and we behave and interpret things in a different manner. So now you have a whole list of things that you need to be aware of regarding your physical, regarding your psychological, or regarding your behavior aspect, that if you are going through these things, then there is something happening at the stress level. But the important thing is how to respond to it. So this is, before I move on to the topic, let me look at the chat box. All right. Yeah, this material will be available. Mm, like the presentation is already being recorded. It will be posted on the university webpage, and I'll be sharing the PDF of the slides as well. I have very interesting links to share with you when it comes to strategies. So I will be sharing the material with you, obviously. So what is the resilience approach for managing stress? First of all, let us understand what resilience is. I mean, as a human being, if you understand that you are ready to take the challenges of life. I mean, let us talk about the fight or flight response. Somebody did mention earlier when I was asking that what comes to your mind when you hear the word stress. Somebody messaged me and said, okay, it's about fight or flight response. Fight or flight. Ask yourself, are you a fighter or a flighter? I mean, nobody is judging you. This is who you are. The thing is that in order to be resilient, we need to understand that life is going to throw challenges at us. Every single day is a challenge. I mean, getting out of bed is a challenge. When you're going through a bad time, getting out of bed, taking your breakfast, talking to your family members, doing your regular work, everything becomes a challenge. But the important thing is that in a resilient approach, one would say that I am ready to take on these challenges. I'm emotionally strong, I'm mentally strong, I'm going to respond well, I'm going to be flexible, I'll adjust to all the demands. So, this is the main core aspect of dealing with stress, that we need to bounce back. Resilience is all about bouncing back. I mean, life, it's going to hit you. And this happens to everyone. You know, I am a leadership instructor as well. I talk about leadership and I teach leadership. One of the top traits of leaders, of top global leaders, uh, that I have been able to deduce is they are very resilient. They never take failure as something that bops them down. They always bounce back from failures. They learn from failures and they bounce back and they respond well. And that is what makes them big leaders, popular leaders, successful leaders. So, one thing that we can learn from this is that life is going to give us challenges. But the important thing is, yeah, we'll get to that. The situation part, we will get to that. And I would love to hear whatever opinion comes to your mind regarding managing stress. I'm getting the direct messages from the students. That is really wonderful. Keep on sharing. I'll try to add your opinions, your points as we get to it. All right. So, what we are going to do is we are going to go through certain strategies or certain aspects, and I would want you guys to give me your feedback that what do you think? Have you been practicing these things in your life? What has made more sense to you? Uh, if there are so many things that you want to write in the chat box, you can use the last 10 minutes when we are going to discuss and get your opinions. Okay. All right. So this is a very interesting strategy, the 4A strategies. I mean, one thing that can you can hold on to after the completion of this session is remember that I'm going to share a 4A strategy. There are going to be 4A's. We'll start with the first A, that is avoid the stressor. Before I move on to this strategy, let me share a perspective with you. I mean, I relate stress with the element of control. I believe that control, understanding control is something that can help you deal with stress. If you know that you are in control of something, then it's okay to feel stressed about that thing because you can actually affect that. But there are so many things happening around us which we cannot control. We cannot control our economy. We cannot control if your team that you are supporting is winning or losing. We cannot even control our children and their behavior and their success or their failure. I mean, if we look at it, there are so many things that we cannot control. So if we are not in control, then why are we worrying about it? Why is this stress coming up then? So I believe that understanding this control aspect is very important. We are in control of our emotions. We need to be in control of our emotions, our behavior, our responses, our psychological reinforcements, our physical actions. We are in control of that. So we should be worried more about those things. And there are so many things that we are stressing about for which we are not in control of. So if you understand this control aspect, this is going to help us a lot in determining that whether we should be stressing about certain thing or not. Because if we cannot control it, then we should not stress about it. Like I just appeared in some interview today. So while I was in that interview, I tried to do my best. And like it went on for an hour or so, and I tried to respond to all the questions that were coming my way. So after that interview, when I was driving back to my house, I was thinking in my mind that I should have answered on this question in a certain way. I should have done this. I should have done this. So I immediately asked myself that can you change this situation right now? Can you do anything about it right now? So the obvious answer is no, because that interview is over. It is gone. It is past. There is nothing that you can do to impact it, to control it, to influence it. Then why worry about it? All right. So when we understand that we have limited control, we start gaining a more mindful perspective of life, a less stressful one. So I'm going to share, do share your thoughts. What do you think about this? That the idea that I've shared regarding control, I would love to hear your idea on that. So what you can do is, in a 4A strategy, the first action that we can follow is avoid the stressor. I mean, there are things happening around us which are stressing us. So you need to make a decision. Like decision making is very critical when it comes to dealing with stress. I mean, do ask yourself that what is stressing you? Is it an individual? Is it a person? Is it a certain action or certain incident happening at your work? It is for me currently, since our country is going through a political turmoil right now. Very good. Somebody shared, Vincent. Vincent shared that I always ask myself, what is the worst that can happen? Wonderful. Worst case scenario solution is really wonderful when it comes to dealing with stress. I mean, once you tell your mind that this is the worst that can happen, your mind accepts the reality and you move on. We'll talk about that in detail, but thank you so much for sharing. So I was saying that our country is going through a political changeover right now, and we are supporting a certain party, and like so all the information that is coming to us through Twitter and through television, that is very stressful right now. All right. So I mean, if I think about it, what can I actually do? I cannot change the situation, but I can change the channel of my television. I can stop looking at, because I need to understand that my well-being is my priority. If something is stressing me out, if social media is stressing me out, I need to stay away from it. If some person, some happening, some incident, some action is stressing me out, I need to say no. I need to avoid that. You don't need to talk about the topics that stress you out. It is going to be a long process of taking charge, taking control. You need to avoid the triggers. I mean, we do understand that what stresses are. There are certain things that we don't want to talk about. It's okay to avoid. It's okay to prioritize. Make a decision that I am going to talk about these things. I'm going to focus on these things. I'm not going to. I learn to say no, and I'm not going to talk about a certain thing or a certain situation. That is one strategy that can really help you out in terms of dealing with your stress. Because what you are doing is you are changing the situation. You can very easily relate it with something that is happening in your life. Do understand that this discussion today is just a reminder. It's kind of a refresher. I'm just helping you, facilitating you remember that what is more important in life, and that is you, your health, your mental, physical well-being, you. So I'm just giving you a reminder. There are going to be things which you are already familiar with, and I'm sure that you may know some more wonderful things, but this generalized kind of a presentation is going to tell you that what you need to be concerned about in your life. Okay, just let me have a look at the chat box. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. So many wonderful, good messages coming in the inbox. All right. So what is the second A? We are going to talk about 4 A's. So what is the second A? If you cannot avoid the stressor, you can alter the stressor. It's not about making a yes or a no decision. There is a gray area in between as well. What I'm going to simplify it for you. Always go for sharing your feelings rather than bottling them up. I mean, there is no over in my life, in my experience, I realized that uh, the divine power has given us the ability to speak and share. So why should we be keeping our ideas and our thoughts and our feelings to ourselves? Because when you hold that thought, when you hold that idea, when you hold that feeling within you, it builds up. It's not good. If you're feeling something, if you want to talk about something with someone, feel free. And do understand that life expects and demands us to do compromises as well, but these compromises should be voluntarily. Think about it in a way, in a very common example, that if you have to go for a 9 to 5 job, like you have to be at work for 8 hours. So if you don't like your work, you do understand that it gives you money. It helps you pay your bills. So in this way, we do compromise. We understand that this is something that we need to do. And it's not about liking. If it is causing you some stress, it's not advisable to avoid that stress and leave your job and do something else with your life. If you can, you should compromise as well. This is altering the stressor. If the stressor is something that is unavoidable, is something that has to be in your life, then you can alter it. Resilience expects you to deal with problems head on. This is one thing that you need to learn. I mean, if you keep on thinking about a problem, if you keep on thinking about something in your mind over and over and over again without actually doing anything about it, then it's just going to build up. Have this courage, have this confidence to take things head on. The worst case scenario just mentioned by our friend in the chat box, that helps here. I mean, if you're really afraid to try out something, just ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario? What is the worst that can happen? So once you tell your mind that the worst that can happen is you can lose some money, you'll probably upset a loved one, or whatever the scenario is. Once you understand that the worst case scenario is something that you can deal with, then it's time to take the problem head on. Time management, prioritizing is something very critical. I mean, most of us on a regular basis, we do feel stressed because we are not able to comply to our deadlines. Uh, as already mentioned when I was asking regarding what stress means to you. So when it comes to dealing with deadlines, procrastination is something that creates a lot of stress. So it's about shifting your habits, just changing the way you look at life. Uh, since we are talking about frogs, since I talked about a boiling frog, I'll just give you another example that just came into my mind. It's about eating the frog. Eat your frog first. I'm sure that you guys would not be like really keen to have frog as a dinner, but for me, it's a very difficult thing. It's kind of an impossible thing. I cannot eat a frog. So the strategy here is eat your frog first. What does it mean? Eat your frog first. This means when you get up in the day, start with the most difficult thing that you have to do on that day. Do not put that thing on a later list that I'll do it later. Start with eating your frog. Eating your frog means doing a difficult thing. So prioritizing or time management or dealing with stress says that start with eating your frog first. Deal with the difficult situation first, then your stress will be reduced for the rest of the day. It's a very kind of a good strategy to deal with procrastination because you know the deadlines they become stressful because most of the times we are occupied doing something else. We don't like feel like doing work sometimes. So if you prioritize, if you manage your time well, the deadlines would not be very stressful for you. And the strategy over here is eat your frog first, do the difficult things first. So if you cannot change the situation, you can change your reaction. I mean, we are only in charge of our own behaviors. We are not in charge, we are not in control of the things happening around us, but we are in control that how we are going to respond to those things. Adapting to the stressor means that you can reframe your problems, you can look at the bigger picture, focus on the positive, adjust your standards. I mean, it simply means that the way you are looking at a problem, you can change that way. If that thing is constant in for you, you need to respond in a different manner. Finding opportunities in problems. This is a very good strategy. Finding, I mean, if God forbid, something bad is happening to you or your loved one, I mean, I do understand that it is difficult for us to find the positive side of that. But hey, what doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, that life is bound to give us challenges. We are going to face those challenges with a resilient approach that I'm stronger than my worries, I'm stronger than my challenges. And one way to react to the stresses is accept it. Like I've mentioned that if something you were worried about something, that it may happen, it may happen, it may happen, and you were worried for like days, weeks, months, and it did happen. So you were suffering multiple times. So once it has happened, learn to move on. Moving on is something, I think this is the most wonderful trait that an individual can have. My idea of resilience, honestly speaking, my idea of resilience is moving on. Like you know that something has happened. Uh, in our schooling over here in Pakistan, in our schooling, we use this statement a lot that do not cry over spilled milk. This means that if you are boiling milk and if it comes out of the pan, there's nothing you can do about it. So, isn't this the same scenario in our lives as well? That we are worrying that we should be doing this thing or that, but moving on means that if you are not in control, in charge of something, you cannot like you understand that you did your best and still the results are not in your favor, you need to move on. Uh, the same trait is very common in all the top leaders of the world that I've already mentioned. They move on very quickly. They do not like sit back and hold on to the worries and problems. They move on, they move forward. All right. I hope nice to learn. I'm from Bangladesh. All right. Good to have you. I hope that you guys are finding it this discussion, not a discussion right now, but just a one-sided kind of a talk. But you do share your comments in the chat box that tells me that you are engaged. All right. So what I'm going to do is uh, I'm going to share some further strategies, and I've already mentioned that you may be very familiar with these strategies, but it's just a kind of a reminder for you that you need to start doing these things. How many of you do your own kind of yoga or meditation on a frequent basis? You can just say yes in the chat box or you can say no, but be truthful. We are not making any impression in front of anyone. We're just asking ourselves, how many of you do meditation? All right, good. The answers are coming, which includes wonderful, so many answers coming. That is really wonderful. I wish that all of you were able to view the messages, but okay. So few are saying that they do and some are saying they don't. So one thing that you need to learn today is that start doing it. I mean, it's really wonderful. There are so many wonderful videos. Okay, okay, wonderful. So many people are doing it. Just looking at the chat box, the responses are exemplary. Keep it going. Uh, it'll be different for all of you. I mean, it all depends on who you are as an individual. Because I like I like sunshine. I like trees. Uh, I like the sound of air that is going through the trees and the leaves and the birds chirping. That is my way of doing meditation. I mean, for some people, it's going to be a very composed kind of an activity where they are supposed to have probably a candle or kind of a perfume or smell around them too. But it all depends. The important thing is that you need to learn to stay calm, relax your mind. In the earlier stage, when we were talking about stress, we understood that there are some triggers that stress you out. Now I'm going to ask you to think about the triggers that calm you down and focus more on them. Focus less on the triggers and the buttons that stress you out. Focus more on all the things that calm you down. Being calm is true strength, you know, and you need to do it physically as well. I mean, we have talked about the psychological aspect of that. We have talked about moving on and uh, learning and thinking about the worst case scenario and so on. But I just shared this pretty image over here for you so that there are so many things that you can do. How how many of you danced a little recently? I mean, really enjoyed your life, danced a bit, just out of happiness, started dancing, jumping out. That really helps. I mean, even thinking about it makes me feel very happy right now. All right. So give your body, your mind the due time that it requires. You need to have focus in life. I mean, whatever works for you. Some people are saying that they do it at bedtime. Music calms some people. Wonderful. Uh, all right, very good. Long walks, it helps for them. Very good. I mean, doing something physically that moves your muscles and moves your body is never a wrong idea. I mean, the people who regularly go to the gym, uh, there is a saying that uh, going to a gym and doing exercise is never a bad idea. I mean, we may think that it is raining outside or I'm feeling very tired, I'm just feeling cramped up from my yesterday's exercise. But whenever you go, it's always a wonderful idea. I ride my bicycle since I live in a city which has mountains and we have all different kind of weather over here. So since we are just entering the spring season right now, for the last couple of days, the sunshine has been really bright. The sky has been really blue. The birds are really happy. I'm very happy. So I spend a lot of time just going out, doing a bit of cycling, looking at the trees. And this is my way of meditation because it helps me gain perspective back again. It helps me give myself time. It allows me to regain my focus. Ask yourself that what works for you. Music, walks, exercise, talking to a loved one, sleeping for some even. Sleeping is a kind of meditation if you're like sleeping, relax. It's kind of a meditation. But this is something that you need to do. And you need to spare some time on a daily basis on that. What I try to do is, and I'm not obviously I'm not an expert on managing stress. I'm just sharing somebody as a facilitator because just we are all in this together. What I try to do is, since I know whenever I get up in the morning, I know my well-being is my priority. So I make decisions throughout the day which are going to soothe my mental and physical well-being. I've chosen a job as a teacher. I think it really connects with my well-being. I do the kind of activities, the food that I intake, everything is related to the overall idea of having a peaceful and calm life. All right. That is how I respond to stress. I've shared a link, a very interesting link from positivepsychology.com. Uh, Later, when I'll be sharing the PDF of this presentation with you, you can always have a look. It has so many wonderful exercises and techniques regarding mindfulness and meditation. I would suggest that you do have a look. All right, moving on to the next strategy. We do understand that healthy lifestyle choices is critical, very important. I mean, eating healthy, and we do understand that uh, different the kind of food that we are taking in, it is impacting the way we are living our life. I mean, it's pretty common to say, but if you are eating green, your mind and your body will respond differently. If you are eating more fast food, junk food, then your mind will respond differently. If you are intaking a lot of soda or alcohol, then your mind and your physical body is going to respond differently. So it's always good to have a check. From now on, what I would expect you to do is, if you have a choice, and you always have a choice, okay? uh, Life is about making choices, so you always have a choice. So this is a very interesting link that I've shared. You can always go and have a look. From now on, I would request that all of you, you need to keep a check on what you are taking as part of your diet. Whatever works for you, whether it is fruit, vegetables, meat, whatever you are taking, but do understand that how is it impacting? What are the nutritional benefits, and what are the physical and even psychological aspects? You know, some people say, and I've tried it, bananas, they have like wonderful health benefits, and they affect your mind as well in a positive way. I mean, if it works for you, then it's fine. Otherwise, you can have your own kind of fruit or vegetable, whatever you like. So keep your weight in check. I need to keep my weight in check as well. This is something as a reminder coming to me as well. Because these healthy lifestyle choices, starting from food, from activities, from from everything that you are doing since you get up, you need to make a conscious choice that your health, your well-being are your priorities. Okay. Now coming to the psychological part, I mean, being resilient, I've already given you a hint of this, but positive thinking, I'm reminding you once again, the world runs on positive thinking. This is what I believe in. We need to be positive all the time. Optimism is a big attribute that we can have. And the important thing is when we need to have people around us who think in a similar manner. You know, since I've been teaching and talking about the self-development area for a lot of time now. So, and this is the kind of content that I watch on social media as well. I have Instagram, I have Twitter, I have different forums, but the content that is coming, it is usually regarding self-development, positivity, optimism, and all these topics. So I try to get myself regular reinforcement of all these positivities. You know, uh, if you hang around a negative person, if you hang about a person who is a critique, who likes talking about the downside of things, your positivity starts to like shrink away. This is what I've experienced. I'm just sharing with you. So think about it that when you radiate positivity, you're going to dodge the negativity and you need to avoid that as well. If you surround yourself with positive people, your optimism is going to grow. Your resilience is going to grow. And this should be a lifelong approach. When you truly evaluate yourself and your thinking patterns and how you have responded in certain scenarios, certain situations, only then you can judge that whether your behavior has been optimistic, positive, or you need to work. So finding opportunities in problems, this is the core of resilience. I've already talked about it, but just a refresher, this is the core of resilience. I mean, problems are going to come your way. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I gain from this? What is in it for me? So the perspective is going to change. Changing the perspective is about resilience and responding to stress. Very important. I consider this as very, I mean, we have our share of worries, but what about our share of things that we are grateful for? I want you guys to think about the things that you are grateful for, and using the chat box, write down at least three things that you are grateful for. Just think about it. Three things that you are grateful for. I'm grateful for my loving family. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my employment, my food. Oh, there are so many things coming in my mind. I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for this opportunity right now talking to you. sharing my ideas with you, using the Zoom technology and sharing the ideas over the world. I mean, that is something really wonderful. So let me quickly go to the chat box and have a read. All right, life, family, employment, very good. Three things that you are grateful for. I would want to hear from other students as well. Health, grateful for people in life, for life, employment, family, and AIU for the various sources of knowledge. That is wonderful. That is really good. Life. I'm grateful for life. Yeah, that's wonderful. Such positivity coming. I mean, reading your chat, you're saying, I mean, you people are not able to read, but I'm just getting so many messages and people are grateful for so many wonderful things. That is something that is wonderful. That is truly amazing. Uncontrollable laughter, grateful for my approach to food. Yeah, I'm really grateful for the food. I'm really looking forward. It's almost dinner time here where I am right now. I'm really looking forward what's cooking. I'm not able to smell anything right now, but I'm really looking forward that something wonderful is coming. So it's this is a wonderful approach. I mean, and this is going to be tested when you are going through a tough time. In a tough time, if you're feeling that things are not moving in your direction, if you feel that life has been tough on you, think about all the wonderful things you have. You know, life is all about perspective, isn't it? It's about how we look at it. I mean, things are happening. They have been happening since the first person came on this planet, since the world was formed. Things have been happening. But the important thing is how are we responding to them? So, gratitude is the best attitude. Be grateful for everything. Good. Okay. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. I really enjoyed this thought because I understand that perspective is everything. You know, great leaders, they are jailed and they change the world from the jail. I mean, if a person like me is contained in my room for one day, I'll think that my life is almost over. So the resilient best practices, resilient examples, the best leaders in the world, what they do is they find an opportunity in it. So let us follow their footsteps. Uh, we cannot undermine the value of social support. I mean, loneliness is a killer. They, I mean, if you choose to be lonely, it's perfectly all right. But do understand that we humans, we are social animals. In order to survive, we need to be among people. And I've already conducted a session once on social intelligence last year, back in 2023 with AIU Forum. The video is already available on their channel. In order to be among people, we need to build the social intelligence. And the relationships need to be meaningful. That is very important. I really enjoy this thing that cultivate meaningful relationships. I mean, some relationships are mere relationships. I mean, you go to work, you talk to people, or you just with your neighbors, you just talk to them. Why can't we spend more time in cultivating meaningful relationships so that we can have a to and fro kind of movement of emotions, kind of an exchange based relationship, so that we can rely on. I mean, the true perspective of social intelligence is to have people around you who support you, who build you up, who take you further. And we need this emotional validation from other people. I mean, this is very critical. This is very important. It's very normal and natural. So when you are around people who are supportive, who are positive, who are friendly, who understand that collectively we need to proceed, we need to move forward, You are going to build a resilient approach and feel less stressful. Love yourself. I mean, think about somebody that you truly love. Think about that person right now. Think about that person who you truly love. Imagine that person is you. The way you have feelings for that person that you truly love, the way you want to take care of them, you want to make them happy, you want to buy them all the things in the world, you want to make sure that all their dreams come true. Start with yourself first. This should be your priority. Setting up your boundaries, understanding that what can I do, what I cannot, for which things do I have the energy to respond to. So it's all about making decisions based on giving your well-being the priority, as I've already mentioned. Self-compassion is very important. Once you understand your strengths and your weaknesses and who you are truly, your emotions, everything about you, then you give yourself that true value. I mean, it's good to have people around you, but it's even better to enjoy your own company as well. But for that, you would want to be in love with all aspects of you, starting with your physical appearance, your body, your thoughts, your ideas, your approach towards life, your resilience. Be in love with that. That is going to help you respond well to stress. All right. I hope you got my point. Okay. So problem solving and goal setting approach. Since I'm a management teacher, so I fit in management wherever it comes, and stress management, we are talking about this. So prioritize your goals. Do understand that no matter what you have achieved in life, there is always going to be something that needs your attention, and you would want to achieve that as well. But in the process of achieving all these things, do not forget to stop and appreciate you for the small goals that you have achieved. You know, people think about losing weight. They think that I'm like 200 pounds right now and I want to be around 140. So after a week's workout, they think that, oh, I've only lost 2 pounds, I'm giving up. You are going to get to 140, but what about appreciating yourself on losing that 2 pounds? Breaking down your bigger goals into smaller goals, achieving them, and once you achieve them, appreciate yourself on them. Give yourself the due reward. What I do is when I do something wonderful, so I always buy myself something good to eat. That is the way I reward myself. Do not ever underestimate the power of appreciating yourself based on achieving small goals. And they are only going to be achieved once you set them realistically. Okay? Small achievements, challenges, dealing with them. And I've already talked about the fight or flight response. It's good to fight and lose rather than to flight and lose. Okay? Hold on to that thought. So this was, I mean, this stress management topic, obviously, it is something that we can like keep on talking and talking about it. And there are so many wonderful strategies that you people also be having in your lives, and I would love to hear them. But considering our time constraint today, I'm done with my session. I hope that the strategies that I have shared, you have been able to find some value out of it. You can always give your feedback through the chat box.